This video shows the STK side of working with CSV files, comma-separated values, or comma-separated variables, I can't remember which. That being said, it's a great way to be able to take information that STK generates a lot of and being able to export it in a way that we can work more in depth with it with our spreadsheets. So this is kind of one part of a multi-step process that can prove to be very, very useful. A common thing that we'll need is maybe the access report. What times a satellite, for instance, can see a ground site or a facility. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to right-click on my satellite. I'm going to go over to Access. I need to select the correct object. Just as a reminder, select object. I could get the contact times between the sensor and the ground site or the satellite and the ground site. Pay attention to your mission goals and see what it is exactly you are looking for. In this case, I'm just going to do a simple connection to the ground site. I'm going to do compute and click reports access, and this generates our access report. Now, hopefully you're getting familiar with these. These are incredibly, incredibly useful, and they've got all the timestamps and a bunch of different numbers on them as well. But it's not the sort of thing that, okay, the timestamps are great, but that's just a lot of information for me to try and look at, and it would be a pain to try and type them in elsewhere. Well, that is where the CSVs are so useful. Now, to use this, we need to come up here to this row. This has save as text. We're not actually looking for that. That's an old school disk. The one next to it has the old school disk in the bottom left, and there's a green X as kind of the main tile behind it. That X is representing Excel because it's a pretty common one. At least I'm pretty certain that's what it's doing. In short, you want this button. Let's click on that button. Okay, when I do, it basically says, okay, we're going to generate this file, all the information that you're looking at, in an easy-to-use format, if you know how to use it, called a CSV that you can put into a spreadsheet to do more advanced analysis on. But you have to tell us where we want to save it. And you can change the name down here, but a lot of times I'll leave it as is. It might depend, but this is where you can change the name. You can do drop downs, but we want specifically to export this as a .csv, which is the only option there. Okay, now this can be a little confusing. What I like to do is I go over here to where it says desktop. You want to put this file somewhere that is easy to find. So I'm going to go to the desktop. I've got a couple different folders here, but I've got one that I've made specifically for this. Or if you need a new one, in fact, let's go ahead and make a new one. You can come up here, and there's a Create New Folder button. Or in the white area here, you can right-click and go to New Folder. And I can do ISAT Basics. Give it a name that is something that would be easy to find and locate, but it'll create it on your desktop. Now I can click on this folder, and now I'm telling it, okay, I've created a folder on my desktop, and I want you to put this file in that folder. Click Save, and it gives me a warning on here that, hey, if you're working with dates and you bring it into Excel, then you may have to do some extra steps. We'll have that in videos in the spreadsheet side, but that is how you generate a CSV and export it. Now, real quick, I'm going to minimize this. We've got, here's my desktop, and lo and behold, if you look here, I've got a folder, ISAT Basics. That's the one that I created. It's right there on my desktop. And if I double click on it, I can see that my file is right in there. I can double click on this file or do a variety of things with it in order to actually open it up in the appropriate spreadsheet. And when I do so, in fact, I may regret this, but let's go ahead and give it a try. It will load up with all that information. And so with this, we've got our start time, stop time, and duration. Now on this, it gave me the warning that it may not be able to work with the dates quite well. I might have to do some additional things in order to work with this data, but it is right here in a spreadsheet that I can then begin to do analysis on. So this is a great, great tool to be able to do very, very in-depth analysis with some of the reports that you can get out of STK.